Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Free Georgia Podcast. My name is Jake Green, joined by my co-host, Cat Hartley. How you doing, Cat?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Before we get into the topic of today's episode, head on over to lpgeorgia.com to learn more about what the Libertarian Party of Georgia is doing around the state to spread freedom and liberty. You can also go follow us on X at lpgeorgia, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. You can learn about everything we're doing, including my favorite, which I mention every time, the Liberty Watch. Go sign up for the Liberty Watch email newsletter. Tells you what legislation is being passed in Georgia and how it might affect you personally. And it's a good thing to check out, to be a part of. You can also take the world's smallest political quiz to find out where you fall on the spectrum. Have you taken this quiz yet, Kat?
No, I keep forgetting to do it.
Fair enough.
But if I had to guess, I think I'd be like towards the right of Libertarian, like right there. I think I'd be right there.
Okay. I dig it. Yeah, I would love to know where you end up falling once you take the quiz. That'd be fun. All right, y'all. Today's episode, one of the missions of LP Georgia, one of our projects has been to address privacy and surveillance by the government over the last couple of years. And a little movement was started called Banish Big Brother, headed up by Elizabeth Melton and Zach Barnell. And let's see, let me get the website up there. And you can go check out what they're doing. They have a podcast, and they give you a ton of resources to show you exactly exactly how your privacy is being invaded by the government, including the primary subject of today's episode, which is flock cameras. And we're going to talk more about what a flock camera is, but they have this awesome embedded map where you can see.
Wow, Atlanta's crazy.
You can see the 1,700 flock cameras around the city of Atlanta, and they are everywhere. And yeah, we're going to talk to our guest today about flock cameras. His name is Ike Skelton. He was arrested for cutting down one of these flock cameras. So we're going to talk to him about that and why he did it and what a flock camera is and everything around your privacy being violated by these cameras. Not only your privacy, your safety, your economic livelihood. There are lots of problems with these cameras. All right. Ike Skelton, welcome to the Free Georgia Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I was given your contact info by Elizabeth Melton, who's heading up the Banish Big Brother project here in the state of Georgia. And, it's all about government surveillance and privacy, and they have a flock camera map on their website and everything. Can you tell us who you are and what's going on with you?
So I'm the presiding commissioner of Camden County, Missouri. In Camden County, our counties are set up with a 3-person commission, and we have a first district and a second district, and then of course I preside over all the meetings. When I first got into office, I've always been very active, at least since the Tea Party movement started, and been a big part of that. And I've always been concerned about government overreach. And when I got into office, I found out that this camera existed. It was brought to me by a citizen. I didn't really even know what flock cameras and automatic license plate readers were that much. And I started looking into it more, and I realized that, wow, this is nothing more than really a very effective surveillance system that if it were to really be fully implemented across the country, as the federal government would like to do, because that's where a lot of the money is coming from to implement these things, then they will have a system that they will be able to track every single American anywhere you go at any time they want to, for any reason they want to track you. And you'll never know it's being done. So here in Camden County, we had, I'm very liberty-minded. I'm not your typical elected official. I don't go with the flow. I do not just because everybody else is doing it, we're going to do it that way. And I'm also not into this complete, this whole mindset that, you know, safety, security. I believe the American people are responsible for their own safety and security for a big part, especially in your own homes and a big part in your own community. So we had an evening, a very rare evening meeting, and brought in the public. The sheriff had the opportunity to present. We even had Flock come in by Zoom call, and they presented what their cameras do, and tried to convince us that they were just fine. And the people that were there, we had a good segment of our population, and the people of Camden County are very liberty-minded. We don't need we don't want the help of the federal government. We will take care of things on our own, and we definitely do not want to be tracked and surveilled. So through the commission, we created an ordinance to prohibit flock cameras throughout the entire county. Wow.
Okay. And Kat, I know you're a little newer to the government surveillance stuff. So did you have any questions for Ike right off the bat?
Yes. One, what is a flock camera, and what did they tell you, you know, the purpose was for it in that meeting?
Well, Flock Corporation, they came about, it's my understanding, the founder of that organization had a family member killed, hurt, or something, kidnapped. I don't remember the exact, I apologize for that. But so then this individual created this system of cameras. And the camera is the camera. As a matter of fact, they are adjusting the software to where you don't even have to have any special type of camera. But what these things do is they're automatic license plate readers. So they take a picture or video of every vehicle going by them. And then through their software, they have the ability to pull out particular vehicles, whatever has been put in their database to request. A certain license plate, maybe of a wanted individual, or we see the Amber Alert. So if you know the license plate number of the alleged kidnapper, you could put that into the computer system. And if it happens to go by one of these cameras, the camera will take a picture of that, and it'll alert the local agency that that vehicle just went past that camera. Well, if you have several of them in line, then you can see that you went through this camera at this time, then the next one at another time, and you can kind of tell maybe where a person is going. All of that is really good, and I'm not going to argue. They are very effective, and they'll figure that stuff out. But my concern is what they could potentially be used for, and we have seen. We know around the country that there have absolutely been abuses, because not only does it look for the vehicles that you're looking for specifically of potential criminals, they take a picture of everybody, everything that goes by them. They take a picture of it and they store it in a database. So now the government has access to the database. The government does not operate the cameras. That's all done by Flock. The database is stored by Flock, but then the law enforcement has access to that database. Now they can look through that database and not only find those few people that maybe they have warrants for, but they can start tracking anybody they want to. Let's say they have a suspected, whatever reason they want to try to look for you, they can now start looking through the database, put your plate information in, and then they can start finding where you've been, where you've gone, and they can track you everywhere you go. And you don't know it's being done because they don't even have to have a warrant to do that. So that's part of the problematic part to me.
That's a major problem. The fact they don't have to have a warrant in order to go in and track whatever civilian they want to track. Like that is completely unconstitutional, against our natural rights. It's not okay for that to happen. One of the biggest arguments, and me and Kat were talking about this a few minutes ago, one one of the biggest arguments I hear is, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so why does it matter? And that's maybe my least favorite thing. A couple years ago, I started privacy basing my life. So, my entire internet, I'm on VPNs. I use Proton Mail. I do, all this kind of stuff. And my buddy's wife called me arrogant for thinking that the government would want anything to do with me and want to spy on me. I was just like, lady, I don't think you know, like the history of governments and like what they have done in the past to screw over very innocent people that had nothing to do with anything they were talking about. So do you guys get approached in that way at all?
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely the argument that they use. Well, if you're doing nothing wrong, you don't have to worry about it. Well, I guess that's true. If you sit back and you're okay with everything your government's doing and you don't ever talk out against them and you don't ever try to go against the grain and maybe follow the Constitution, which very few people do anymore, maybe you don't have anything to worry about. But, for those of us who do speak out, that are willing to challenge our government, I think we do have some things to worry about. And, the whole rubric that if you're not doing anything wrong, don't worry about it. Well, why do we have qualified immunity for law enforcement and elected officials? If they're not doing anything wrong, then they shouldn't need qualified immunity, right? But that certainly is a tool that those folks have. So, and again, it just goes against the grain of America. America, we're supposed to be free and innocent until proven guilty. And when you're under a system like this, and there's even somebody, I think, with Oracle, there's an article, the owner or whatever, CEO of Oracle came out and said, well, cameras just make a more pleasant society because you're going to be nicer knowing that you're being surveilled. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? So, that is absolutely the argument you hear all the time.
Yeah. And there's been a huge movement to cut down these cameras. And I think that movement started in the UK. A bunch of people started cutting down these cameras over there. And not just flock cameras, but basically any type of government surveillance camera. There's a whole movement over there where I think there's one camera that's been cut down like 13 times and they keep putting it back up over and over again. Is anything like that happening up in your neck of the woods? Because like Atlanta has 1,700 of these cameras.
Wow. So no, I haven't seen that of the public, and that's good. I don't think we need to have the public going around doing things like that. However, there should be more elected officials that do exactly what I did. We created the ordinance. The ordinance passed. The people wanted it. Nobody would take the camera down, so I enforced our ordinance and I took the camera down. I never had any intent of keeping it. I was only enforcing our order. And I actually sent a letter. I had our staff send a letter to Flock Corporation to tell them that, and we sent them the letter telling them to take the cameras down after we passed the ordinance. And they never did. They didn't respond at all. So we sent a letter after I took it down and told them to come get it. And that same exact day, the Missouri Highway Patrol showed up through the Department of Public Safety. And I've now been charged with 2 felonies and a misdemeanor for taking that camera down. And we're fighting that in court.
What? So Flock was the one that accused you of what? Stealing it, or the state is accusing you of just taking it down?
Yeah, I mean, the state is pursuing the charges. The first charge is stealing over $750, which is a felony, which, by the way, you have to prove intent to be able to have the alleged thief wanted to keep it permanently, deprive the owner of it permanently. That's not the case. I sent them a letter to come get it. Then the other one is tampering with a utility, such as an electric system or gas system, whatever. Well, it's a camera. It's not a utility. And then the other one is disrupting a government operation. That's the misdemeanor. Well, these cameras are not operated by the government. They're operated by a private entity. And folks, that is also part of the bigger problem, because this is a public-private partnership. And because it's a public-private partnership, the Constitution does not apply to a private company. It applies to what the government can or cannot do to you. So when you have a private corporation putting these cameras out on the pole and surveilling you and coming up with this database, there's nothing allegedly illegal about that. It's not unconstitutional. However, if the sheriff in your county put a camera up and did that exact same thing, it absolutely would be a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. But since a private company is doing it, it's not a violation. And the only thing the government has involved in it is being able to put information into this database for alerts, and then to use the database for investigations before and or after a crime. So these public-private partnerships are really the huge problem, and it skirts the Constitution, and it gives the federal government and the local governments a way of getting around the Constitution and violating your rights.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And I think we call that cronyism or corporatism, basically just partnering with, the federal government does this all the time with NGOs that are non-governmental organizations that are actually just government organizations because they're funded by the taxpayer anyway. Right. And yeah, I mean, this is not abnormal. This is a tactic that's used all the time to do exactly what you said, get around laws that are inconvenient for the authorities. Yeah. So what happens next for you? Like, where does this go from here?
Well, as anybody who's been trying to fight the government, even though I'm in the government, it's not cheap, and it's to get good representation, you have to pay for it. And the state, as everybody knows, has the full weight of their tax resources to come after you. And that's my biggest problem right now. We have a good attorney and we're going to fight it. We have great grounds to fight it, but it still has to be done. And it sounds as though this particular prosecutor, there's a special prosecutor on the case, is not willing to compromise or back down on much of anything unless a judge makes them do it. So I don't really see anything going forward other than a full trial. And that's going to be a very expensive thing. If I could say, I have started a fund, a legal defense fund on Give, Send, Go. Okay. It's the Ike Skelton Legal Defense Fund on Give, Send, Go. And we're trying to raise some funds. We've been able to raise enough local funds here to hire an attorney for a retainer, but we're looking at a $50,000 to $100,000 fight very easily. And I don't have those deep pockets. So if anybody would like to help, that would be a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Yeah, that was going to be one of my next questions, was how can people help you? Because yeah.
And by the way, the camera has already been put back up. So
wow.
Oh yeah. They came and got it from me. I gave it to them. I had no intention of keeping it, but they put it back up probably 2 weeks after I took it down. So the whole argument here is I'm not trying to say I didn't take it down. I did take it down. I fully admit that. I have no problem with that because I was enforcing the ordinance that was duly created. There is no law here in the state of Missouri that allows for these things at all. So there's no statute that we are trying to supersede. So now instead of them, and by the way, I gave them a year from the time that those letters were sent to take the cameras down on their own. It was a year before I went and then enforced it. So if at any time during that year, and I had talked about it, taking them down all during that year, and it was alleged that maybe I would get in some sort of trouble. At first, we thought maybe they were state property. Then we found out through the memorandum of understanding signed between Flock and the state that they are absolutely fully 100% owned and personal property of the Flock Corporation. So once I found out that they were absolutely Flock Corporation cameras, it's a private company on our highway and they needed to be removed because it was against our ordinance.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now. We're trying to get it dismissed because I was doing this under my official capacity, and as an executive of the county, I believe I have the authority to do it. So we're trying to get it all dismissed, and we'll see where we go from there.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Why don't they have to follow the ordinance?
Well, that's a great question. Some people believe that, it should be enforced here locally, right? But if you have a state Department of Public Safety saying that no, they don't have to, and that they have some authority over the roads in our county, it is a state road, but it is on the right. It's on the easement. So the property under that road belongs to the county, and they get an easement from the county I don't even know how many years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, they got this easement. And I bet you that easement doesn't say anything about being able to put up surveillance cameras.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of ins and outs here. And again, it's the government. Even though I am a local government, the counties are just peons. We're nobodies. The states get to make all of their laws that they want to, and then we have to follow all that stuff. Well, they don't have a law for these cameras. So we created a law prohibiting them, and I enforced that ordinance. And look, like people at the federal government, the state government is no different. They do not like it when someone goes against the grain and tells them that they're wrong. And they're going to fight very hard to stay that way.
Yeah, I only have a couple more minutes before I got to be out of this room, but that to me is just wild, considering how America was founded and like what our original principles were. Going against the grain is kind of what built the country.
Right.
So
and,
yeah,
it would have been very easy for them to come down here in a legal capacity and file something with a court and say, hey, Your Honor, this ordinance that they passed is not legal and we want a ruling. Well, they didn't do that. They went straight to the nuclear option, waited an entire year, and then tried to they really want me out of office because I as you might imagine, I go against their grain almost every day. So they just don't really want me here. But the people of Camden County do.
Well, Ike, man, I appreciate that. I want you to keep going against the grain, and I want people to help out. So go find his Give, Send, Go. If you send me the link, I'll put it in the episode description when this comes out, whenever we release it. So yeah, send me the link to that, and we'll put it in the description so people can click on that. But yeah, man, I'm glad there are people in government like you who are working against all of the crap that is like forced on the citizens these days. It's refreshing that somebody in government went and took down one of these cameras. I very much enjoy that.
Very good.
Kat, do you have any other questions before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for being on here a little bit late, but we got her taken care of. So thank you for having me on.
Heck yeah. And I would like to have you back on once, there's an update or a resolution or anything like that. Like I'd love to have you back on to talk more about, what happened and what's been going on with you.
Sure. We filed a motion for dismiss, but there's some other things going on. The next the pre-trial will be in August, and I'll keep you up to date.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ike. I really appreciate it. For everyone out there watching, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the Free Georgia Podcast. Peace.